Welcome, Bruce.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for taking the time for this interview. Could you share a little about what is the name of your group and what is the purpose of your group and whatever you would like to say about it?
Ceres community in Western Massachusetts in the United States, and we are a intentional spiritual community of people living together, like mine, as well as an educational center and aspiring eco-village.
Okay. Could you elaborate on, you said, intentional community?
Yeah.
How do you...
Basically, there's a group of us living together who share very similar spiritual values with the intent of creating a more sustainable lifestyle. Sustainable meaning on every level, not just where you get your energy and your food from, but how you create positive working relationships and how you support your spiritual life and all those things together.
That's it's a big mouthful.
Yes, it's a big mouthful.
Yeah. You are part of this group here, WSI, World Service Intergroup. What does it mean to your group to be a part of this?
Well, I think that I've been part of it since the beginning, and I feel that it's really a point of inspiration to have people from groups from all over the world working together, setting aside their own agendas and trying to find cooperative ways of working. And I feel like the international cooperative effort of these groups is very, very important to the unfolding of consciousness on the planet, and this is one way that we are working together.
How do you see the unfolding of consciousness on the planet?
Well, I feel like as humanity, we're at a real crossroads right now in this huge crises on the planet, as we all know. And the question is, how is humanity going to emerge from this? And I think there is a very deep inner stirring and awakening within people, recognizing that there is inherently within all life a divine nature, including each of us has, an aspect of the divine within us, and that it really, for our survival as a race, we really have to call forth and bring into manifestation this divine aspect of who we are and how we relate to the rest of the world in a way that's respecting the sacredness of all life and the interconnectedness of all things.
Do you see it as a matter of survival that we call in this divine aspect?
I think it's a matter of degrees of survival.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
I think if humanity continues on its present course without bringing forth more of the divine aspect of human experience, then there will be more chaos, more pain and suffering.
Yeah.
And I think that by calling forth this divine aspect of human nature, it has the potential to have it be not as intensive a crisis for humanity.
Okay.
And it is through crisis that humanity grows, but I think that it doesn't have to be a horrible experience. That I actually see it as a tremendous opportunity right now, because before the present world crisis, everything was stuck in a very rigid paradigm, and now things are breaking open, they're changing really rapidly, and it's allowing for the emergence of this new paradigm, this new consciousness to come through in ways that, in my perception, weren't all that possible in the past. So I feel very optimistic, actually,
Yeah,
more so than I did a decade ago, because at that point it just seemed rigidly locked into this stuck place, and now it just seems like there's a huge emergence all over the place. Everywhere I look, I see new creative endeavors happening, despite the fact that it seems to be crumbling at the same time.
Where do you see the signs of this new paradigm, of this new consciousness?
Well, an example I would use is in the United States, the agricultural system there has become hugely corporate and very large, and very based on the use of heavy chemicals and chemical fertilizers and all that. And now there's a huge movement in the United States promoting and bringing forth small organic farms and gardens, the community-supported agriculture movement. and people are very interested in having, healthy, good food. And so you pay the farmer, and you get your food directly from the farm. And this is one of the most expanding areas right now in America in the agricultural sector. And so that's an example of how it wasn't working, and there was just this thing that emerged right out of the grassroots to address some of those issues. So that's just one example. But I've seen many examples like that all over the place. In education and medicine, and it just goes on because the system isn't providing the real support that human beings need to live a healthy, well-being lifestyle that's emerging all over the place. And people are finding creative ways to deal with the lack. And it's exciting. Yeah,
I heard there was a shift in the way that the authorities, you were calling, relates to your group. That earlier it was like antagonistic or opposition, but now I know you cooperate with universities and
in the town, and we've developed a very good working relationship with the town that we live in, and working with the universities. And I think that that was a real shift because we've been doing this thing about sustainability for 32 years. And people would say, well, that's kind of nice, and now it's like people would come before and say, well, it's kind of cute, solar, wind, and all these things, and sustainability, and they would drive away in their SUVs. And now people come and they say, how can we do this? And the town invited me to join the town energy committee because they wanted to put up a wind generator behind the town hall. It didn't happen. We put up solar panels instead, but that's the shift that's going on. There's a real recognition and understanding that there is a crisis, and we need to address some of the issues about how do we sustain ourselves as a human race, really. And I feel that is growing all over the place, and particularly in America, where the government is not doing anything, and so people aren't looking to the government anymore. They're looking to their own local solutions to problems and how do you deal with these issues.
So you see these small communities. Do they flourish? Or what is needed for them to?
Well, there is a global eco-village network that's unfolding all over the place, and they are growing at a pretty rapid rate. And most of the people even the academics who look at the situation and say, well, how do we solve this? They all say, local sustainability, small communities. If we're really going to address the core issues, it has to go back to more of a land-based, local production, local economy kind of situation. At least in America, I don't know about the rest of the world.
In Denmark we have used the term simple living. It's like a shift to more simple.
Voluntary simplicity.
Voluntary simplicity,
is the word that we use. And people are beginning to respond to that, which is very encouraging. Particularly in America, where materialism is the god. And everybody's been following this road of accumulation of wealth and possessions and money, and suddenly that's changing.
In the WSI here, the main purpose is to you could say pave the way for the reappearance of the Christ.
Yes.
How is your how would you explain this? What is your view on this?
Well, I feel that in order for that to happen, there has to be a certain level of Christ-like consciousness being held by humanity, because it creates a vibrational field within the collective consciousness. And I really don't feel that the Christ as a reincarnational figure is going to come back into human experience until there's a vibrational field that can contain that or hold that in a certain way. And what I mean by a vibrational field, that there's a certain amount of love and compassion and wisdom and understanding that's being generated through the human kingdom. I don't think Christ is going to come back and save humanity from catastrophe. I don't think it's going to. My own personal feeling is that's not going to happen that way. It's more like humanity is going to raise up to a certain level within itself of Christ-like consciousness, and then the Christ will reappear to help accelerate that process. But I don't see a figure coming back as a savior, saving humanity in this horrible crisis situation. It's not my particular vision of it. But I feel that consciousness has to be fostered and developed within each of us and within humanity as a whole. And I feel like the WSI does a really wonderful job of working with that, the fostering and development of that particular level of consciousness.
What is it? What is you said Christ-like consciousness? What is Christ-like consciousness to you?
Well, to me, what that means to me is that I develop a quality of unconditional love and acceptance and wisdom that I can discern within myself about what things are really for my own highest good and the highest good of the whole, that I'm not doing things that are destructive, and also connection and understanding this interconnectedness and oneness of all life, that I can move with that as part of my being, and understanding the sacredness of it. Because I think if you really understand that all life is sacred and everything is interconnected, then immediately, if you really, really incorporate that within your being, your whole world changes. Because you just don't go out and do things that are going to be destructive to the earth, to other people, the planet, because you recognize it's all sacred and it's all interconnected. And I can't be destroying the planet because I'm destroying something that's fundamentally part of me. And so it changes the whole paradigm. And I feel it's possible for people to have a direct experience of that understanding. It isn't so much that you educate the mind, you take on a rational thought form about what that means, but you take on an experience that vibrates within every cell of your body, every cell of your being, and therefore you're fundamentally changed by it, because you're walking around with this feeling or this experience of the sacredness of it all.
Okay, yeah.
And that changes the outward expression and actions.
Is your group, one of the purposes of your group, is that to facilitate this, you call it direct experience?
Yes.
Of how do you do that?
Well, we talk about everyday life as a spiritual teacher, and we have meditations together. We attune before we do any work in the gardens.
Okay.
We communicate with the devas of the trees in the garden, and we talk about how you do that. And we also feel that all our interactions with each other are reflections of our own consciousness. So we look at that and how do we generate more love and compassion within ourselves, and seeing that the way that we live our lives, the food that you eat, the relationships that you create, are all fostering and developing this interconnection. You can call it the Antakrana, but the Rainbow Bridge or whatever. You're starting to build this bridge with the higher aspect of human experience, the soul, the higher self, whatever you want to call it. That is a process of developing and building a direct connection through that. And so we talk about that. We talk about what constitutes that, how do you work with that. And we also work with clearing out subconscious blocks and things that might get in the way of becoming more loving and compassionate as a human being.
I would love to hear how you talk about it, because here, at least here in Denmark, and I think that's a general phenomenon, it can be, what can you say, challenging thing to talk in big groups.
Yes.
Special method or
yes. And we, the level of people that we're working with probably would not be able to accept a lot of the terminology and language that we use here in the WSI.
Okay.
So you really have to shift the way of approaching, the way of communicating about the same thing.
Yes.
But you can communicate the same thing using very different words and very different language. Like I probably wouldn't use the word Christ for most groups. I would use the indwelling spiritual presence. And I might even say, well, you can call it whatever you like. Christ, Buddha nature, Krishna, God, the force, but it's this indwelling spiritual presence that we're all coming into a greater understanding of and connection and relationship to. And that's part of who we are as human beings. So that I might approach it from that perspective, with somebody who may or may not have heard about it or have too much understanding about it. And we work with a lot of young people too. And so, and there's all kinds of religious traditions in America. You can't just say, well, it's the Christ consciousness. No. It doesn't work. So I have to find ways of working with that. And so I'm pretty good at translating it through to people. And I can sort of judge the audience or whatever who is there to put it in terms in ways that's really going to connect, rather than, there's a lot of words that people hear that it just suddenly shuts the door and they can't take any more in. So you want to be able to weave your way in and have some receptivity to what you're trying to bring across. And I found that the young people in particular are very, very receptive, around the 20-year-old range. They're very open, they're looking for something because the society is not providing very much inspiration or understanding at all about ways forward or what they can do. And there's a lot of depression and disempowerment among young people in America, at least. And so they're really eager to find something that gives meaning, that brings meaning to their
How many young people are coming to your group?
Oh, quite a few. We've been doing these courses in conjunction with the University of Massachusetts, which is all younger college students. And now some of those people who did our courses are now moving in and living in our community.
Okay.
Which is really, amazing, a wonderful experience because they're full of enthusiasm and energy and curiosity, and it's just been a really wonderful thing. So we have quite a few young people there now.
Yeah. What draws them? What do you think?
Well,
as you mentioned already.
Yeah, a lot of people are drawn because of the permaculture. I don't know if you know what permaculture means, but it's a way of looking at developing energy systems and agricultural systems, and it's becoming a very popular thing.
Okay.
And also the natural building and all that. But they come for that, but then we really bring in, because they're coming to live with us for 3 weeks in a spiritual community.
Yeah.
So they're totally exposed to all of our spiritual ideas and processes and all that. And so, and most of them are very open, and they've gained huge amounts. I mean, we've gotten some very positive feedback about their experience and their process, and they sort of think they're coming from one thing, but what they're really really receiving is something very different than that. And that's okay with them. They get both, but they're not close to that at all. They're very open, even though they may not even know that so much about that aspect of Sirius. So it's been fascinating working with them, and really fun for me because I really like working with young people.
Okay, I was going to ask, how do you're one of the founders of the community, and probably many other older people living in the community. How do they respond to this new young impulse?
Everybody likes it.
Okay.
Because it's inspiring us. When you see all these young people getting fired up and doing all these really good things, it's very inspiring because we've been there a long time, and sometimes it doesn't seem like things are changing. So to have young people come in and say, "Yes, all right, I want to do this, I want to do that," it gives more meaning to our work too, inspiration and meaning to our work.
Okay. Yeah.
And they're very open. I have a pretty good rapport with the younger generation. They're able to connect pretty well.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're
welcome.
welcome.
If there's anything you want to add, or
no, I just think this is a fascinating and amazing time to be alive and be on the planet, and to be working more consciously. To be the fact I have so much gratitude that I've awoken and I have something to give, because it's just a fascinating time. So much change and transformation going on. Makes my head spin sometimes. And a lot of people are afraid of it, but I think that I don't feel that at all. I feel no fear. I feel more excitement and optimism than fear. And I think the fear comes from change. Everybody wants everything to stay the same, and it's not going to be the same. It's just simply not going to. We can't continue as a human race and have it be the same. And so I think if you open up to flexibility, openness, and change, then it's okay. Embracing it.
Yeah.